Hey everybody, today is a new day and I'll tell you why. Last night I went and got this thing and we're gonna turn this thing into a little mapping machine here in Missouri for hopefully OnX Offroad. I guess if I had never said it before on YouTube, I guess now's the best time than ever. My secret's probably not safe anyways because anybody can see all the content I've added to OnX over the last 3.5 years by the time this video debuts. I'm gonna use this thing to go and map some of the more, let's call them restricted trails of 50-inch or smaller width that we have, such as Sutton Bluff, St. Joe State Park, Chadwick, stuff like that that's never been touched by anybody here yet. That's what this thing's gonna be for. And I'm going to do a small video of basically taking this base four-wheeler and adding some Rotopax mounts so we got fresh water at all times, 2 more gallons of gas. This has a 3.2 gallon tank. By the way, this is a Suzuki Quad Runner 1998 model with only 700 miles on it. The biggest flaw it had when I bought it was that fender back there was missing the flare, or well, I should say it was just broken. Here's the original flare. But I actually have a parts vehicle for this thing already. My dad had one of these, similar year. I'm not sure exactly which year his is, but it's basically the same layout as this one. And we're going to take, if we need to, parts from his to keep this one running, or we're going to make 2 good running ones. And then in the future, when we run into complications, because you eventually always do, we're going to take the 2 of them and make 1 good one for the long run. But this one comes with a winch that functions, great 4-wheel drive, super low works, low range works, the differential lock works, it shifts great. Now we just need to equip it with Rotopax and then a chainsaw and maybe eventually a lunchbox mount. So I'm going to mix and match Milwaukee PackOut parts and Rotopax parts to make one heck of a mapping machine. So, this is the start of the journey of Lil Tan One. Let the journey begin. You may be wondering, why did I choose to get a 98 Suzuki Quad Runner as my preferred four-wheeler? And I would say it's because of this one. This was my dad's four-wheeler that he had during my childhood. And I guess all the way up till now, it's obviously still here. And this is going to be the parts vehicle slash hopefully maybe one day a second running one again. But man, I loved this thing as a kid and I neglected it, but it still somewhat runs. It just needs a tune up and some work, and we might get it running and use it again. If not, it's going to make a good parts vehicle, which is why we're here today. That's the broken fender flare. We're going to pull the good one from over here. Like I said earlier, it's like 95% good versus 95% broke. So we're going to use the old fender flare and it'll be like part of this four-wheeler of my childhood is still riding with me. You can tell I slid her in here, just having a little bit of fun. Went ahead and swapped the fender flare on the back here. Got that put on. So now it looks a little bit more mint. I guess the big things we're going to have to worry about is like the seat. I got a friend that does upholstery. I might check in with him and see what something like that would cost. But man, it's bringing back memories already. So let's get on to building hopefully a Rotopax mount for the front and maybe a chainsaw mount for the rear. We'll see how we go. I'm debating if I want to do the Milwaukee PackOut now, but I could always buy it, test fit it if I don't like the way it fits and the way it's going to work. Mainly concerning the little storage box right here. I don't really want to lose access to it, and the Milwaukee PackOut base would take over that. I could do the Milwaukee PackOut stuff on front, but it would just look more awkward in my opinion on the front because it would have to stick off the front a little bit above the winch, like probably right in here somewhere. But that is a possibility, and the chainsaw could then go on the front and the Rotopax could go on the rear. But we're just gonna place stuff on it and kind of figure out what we're gonna do with all of it and go from there. The fun part about today though is the doors are froze shut. So we're gonna have to hand stuff in and out or walk in and out to test fit stuff and build it as we go. So fun for the inconvenience. So as you can see, we picked up the triple roll Milwaukee PackOut base, and that's what we're going to mount to the back deck here and utility rack. I'm not sure how we're going to incorporate the saw yet. That's going to be the fun one to incorporate into this build. It could just be back here like this. I like how it fits the width of the rack almost perfectly, but now that I've raised it up a little bit with the Milwaukee rack down here, it kind of feels a little bit more clunky, like it could just fall off. But there is ways to make it work. Another way would be maybe to put it on the front somehow in front of what I'm hauling on the Milwaukee thing, and then strap it to it or strap it to the rack in a way that works for it. But basically I'm planning to put my Milwaukee lunchbox back here for sure, and maybe a first aid kit. Who knows? We'll see what I all can slap on this and find use for it. But that's basically the rear for now. We'll figure out the chainsaw when we get to that point. But let's mount some Rotopax to the front of this thing. We're going to use this 4" by 1/8" thick plate steel or flat steel, flat bar, whatever you want to call it. We're going to mount that to this using U-bolts, and then we're going to make our holes for the Rotopax. One will be this way, one will be this way, and we're going to mount the two Rotopax on this, and then it can then be flipped any way I want. So at this point we got it pretty close to mounted, and I had to kind of do it weird. If you look, I got this as my main mount, this is my other main mount, and then over here on this side we're going to cut this and turn it into a J hook, and it's really just going to help support this end. And you go, why? Well, this Rotopax has to sit flat. Right here is where it's going to be located, and I couldn't get two sides of a U-bolt to come up. This one cleverly has an indentation right where this one will be, and then the handle currently goes over the top of this end over here. The handle goes over those. So really I wouldn't even have to trim these if I didn't want to. I'm probably going to trim them just so I'm not bashing my fingers into it, but really that's the foundation of this build so far. So that's where we're at. Let's drill some holes on the Rotopax mounts and get them in there so we can see it actually strapped down. Well, you can see I got the holes drilled for the Rotopax mounts, and then I bolted them in, and now you can see where I got my two Rotopax here on the front mounted, and that'll just give me 2 extra gallons of fuel. If I ever stacked it, I could even have more, but I'll probably just run 2 gallons of fuel, maybe a gallon of gas for a chainsaw if I ever figure out how I want to put the chainsaw on it. And then Dad came up and he said, well, why are you going to weld stuff onto this rack when you could just U-bolt it to the frame here? And I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of that. That's so silly of me to not think of that. So we're going to U-bolt this thing down in 4 places and make it strap down that way. And then if we need more support, I might add a little small piece through here and through here to eventually bolt to that would be welded to the utility rack. But for now, we're going to try not welding things, and we're going to get this thing strapped down next. Well, I came home and I installed the base rack for the Milwaukee PackOut, and you can see how my lunchbox would be mounted on the back of it. Going forward, I'm not sure what we're going to do exactly with the chainsaw and such. Maybe I'll just take a handsaw, and if I can't handsaw stuff out of the way for now, maybe I'll just make do without a chainsaw. But I would really like to get a chainsaw on this thing. Maybe I'll have to buy a smaller one to really accommodate this four-wheeler. But for now, I'm planning on putting my first aid kit, and then I have a second small Milwaukee PackOut that I could make my recovery gear and have a tow strap, a soft shackle, a metal shackle, all that stuff in a box right here ready to go as well. I think this is going to conclude this video. I got somebody else wanting my attention. So splatter. You want what? I want mommy splatter. Okay. Well, we're going to call it quits for now, but this is how you could take your four-wheeler and make it a trail machine in less than a day for probably less than $100. So there you go. Later.